I always tell people that I spent 16 miserable months of my life as a journalist at the Stockton Record. One day I was looking for the clip file on Chicanos and couldn't find anything. I looked under Mexican Americans, I looked under Hispanics, I looked under Latinos, and then I gave up and I asked the librarian, where are the clips for Chicanos? And she said, oh, they're down here in the W's. I said, the W's? She says, yes, wetbacks.
When I started at the LA Times, I think you could count all the Mexican Americans on staff on one hand. And we shared kind of a sense of frustration that the Times was not fully covering the Mexican American community at that time, that too many of its stories tended to be stereotypes, tended to be stories about crime, about gangs, or about illegal immigration.
Some Anglo reporters had written a series about LA's minorities, and they portrayed them as marauders jumping the freeway to invade Beverly Hills.
These marauders, as they were called, would go into the San Fernando Valley, go into the exclusive west side of Los Angeles, go to Long Beach, go to Orange County, and create mayhem.
The Marauder article was a scandal in the business and in the city.
By the early 1980s, we had reached kind of a critical mass of established, very talented Latino journalists. So the question is, what would we do about it?
So we decided we ought to do a series of stories about the Latino experience of Los Angeles. Try to explain this idea that we're just like everybody else, but for whatever reason, we're seen differently. But doing so took a lot of arguing. The paper was resistant about it. I think that they didn't want to seem as if they were playing favorites, that there was a series just about Latinos. As I told the editor, it's not a cultural accident that the name of this place is Los Angeles, California, por favor. That kind of reasoning talked the paper into it and said, okay, we'll do it.
This was a very risky proposition. You give us time off, basically, from doing daily stories. You put together a team that will be in charge of it. So that's pretty gutsy.
What we had to do was present something that had never been done before. It could not be any ordinary kind of reporting. It had to be quite unique.
So we took a very different way of looking at it. And it was a way of telling the story of the Mexican-American experience in Los Angeles. And it was something really different and unique, and we gave them a face.
The Latino Project was more than a dozen pieces, hundreds of photos taken, 17 people involved, all of them Latino.
It told others who we are. It also told us who we are and who we're becoming.
It announced indirectly that we had arrived. Journalistically, we arrived.
The Times thought it was good, but they didn't think it was that good. They didn't think it good enough to nominate for a Pulitzer Prize. We asked for a meeting. And we said, why aren't you going to nominate us for a Pulitzer? Well, we think it's good, but we have so many entries, George. The upstarts that we are, we wouldn't take no for an answer. So we immediately ran down to Frank Delomo's office, and in one long afternoon, we wrote our own nomination papers for the Pulitzer. And then we waited. We were at the national meeting of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists in Washington, D.C.
George Ramos and myself were out jogging on the Capitol Mall, and between huffs I said, "Oh, did you hear that we won the Pulitzer Prize?"
And the light just turns green. He takes off, leaving me at the corner. He's jogging off to the distance, and I'm saying, "Win what? Win what?"